Apologies again for the drop in the feed. We're back now with the candidates for the role of president. We have a record-breaking 11 presidential candidates this year, and as far as we can tell, it's the most of any president or any sabbatical officer in the UK. So we've had to split them into two panels. Our first 5 candidates are Kat, Levi, Eddy, Nas, and John. And John. If you'd like to introduce yourselves, you've got 30 seconds.
Hi, I'm Kat Stuttard. The reason I'm going for this position is because I want to see real change. I want to see the college prioritise mental well-being of students and to improve mental health services at Imperial. I want to see better cooperation between CSPs, the union and Sport Imperial, and to better the allocation of funding for those. Also, I want to see a reform in the Graduate Students' Union. I want to engage with the postgraduates, support them so they can better their relationships with their supervisors. And also, I want to reinstate students' relationships with their union, make them believe it works for them.
Thank you. Levi?
Hi, I'm Levi Ordog, second-year Earth Science student. In my PDF, I address the issue of house hunting so that we could solve it by gaining help from the Mayor of London. I plan it to do in the following ways. First, get help from the other universities, create a list from the different companies who offer private housing to students at ridiculous prices. Also, we present it to the mayor, and with the help of the mayor, we are going to give a tax contribution to these companies in exchange for better services for students and reasonable prices. I will negotiate out this for you guys if you elect me for your next president.
Okay, thank you. And Eddy?
Hi, my name is Eddy, and I'm running for union president because I have the experience and the determination to represent your voice and to bring changes to the union. I want your experience at Imperial to be great, and I believe I'm the right person to provide you with the support you need. If I get elected, I will create a startup culture at Imperial. I will facilitate the search of accommodation for all students. I will strengthen the relationship between the students and the alumni, and I will empower students. If you'd like more information, please visit my website, voteforeddy.co.uk. Thank you.
Thank you. Nas?
Cool. Hi, I'm Nas, and I believe I will be the best candidate to be union president because I have the right ideas to help improve everyone's life here at Imperial and the right experience to deliver on my promises. I'm not just a single-issue candidate. Instead, I have a wide-ranging and balanced manifesto, ranging from the Imperial White City move to rent guarantor scheme to alumni membership for clubs and societies, all the way to improving mental health provisions here at college. As the most experienced candidate, I know I can deliver meaningful and long-term change. The right ideas, right experience, vote NAS.
Thank you. And John?
Hi, I'm John Golden. I'm a fourth-year medic. Instead of promising a raft of changes that I may not be able to deliver, I'd like to focus on consolidating past efforts of many sabbatical officers to ensure that the hours of work that they have put in are not put to waste. So if you'd like a president who really prioritises long-term change for lasting benefit to students and has the experience to hit the ground running and really deliver on that, I'd love to represent you. Thank you very much.
Okay, and I have some questions for the candidates. So I'm going to ask the same question to 3 candidates and then a different question to 2 others. So to start with, I'm going to ask Kat, could you tell me what you believe to be the single most important thing in your manifesto and why you've chosen that in 30 seconds?
So the single most important thing in my manifesto, I'd say, was, implementing mental health provisions at our university. I think it's really, really important. I know a lot of the welfare candidates have mentioned it in their manifestos, but I think it needs to be a top-down reprioritisation of mental welfare at Imperial. I think, it needs to be something that the president does rather than just welfare. It needs to be done quickly. It's a really big problem at Imperial, and I think it's really, really important. So that's, I'd say, was my most important focus.
Okay, thank you. And Eddy?
So in my case, I think the most innovative point in my manifesto is the promotion and the creation of a startup culture. So basically the difference between Imperial and US universities, such as MIT and Princeton, is that they have funds and they have a startup culture, and you have many CEOs graduating from these universities. So I would like Imperial to become like these universities, create a startup culture by having, for example, a startup fair, bringing key entrepreneurs, and work with Alice Gass because she really wants to create that entrepreneurial spirit at Imperial.
Okay, and Nas, same question, 30 seconds.
So I think the most important policy is also to do with mental health care provisions. So there has been a response from the current union sabbaticals about the mentality report, and I think we need to hold the college to their commitments they have made in response to this. And I think that's the single most important thing we can do.
Thank you. Slightly different question. So to Levi to start with. Lots of people have very similar manifesto ideas. What sets you apart from everybody else?
What sets me apart is that I'm addressing every issue here at Imperial, not just welfare, not just the financing of different societies, but also welfare and also academic representation. If you check out my manifesto and if you check out my video, you are able to get a really thorough picture of myself, what I'm representing, what I'm believing in.
Okay, thank you. And John, the same question?
So I think what sets me apart is a very realistic expectation of what can be achieved in a single year, and a commitment to making no promises that I'm not going to be able to keep. I think there are some very serious problems at this university, in line with what we've all said. The elephant in the room, mental health here is shocking, and welfare support is terrible. And I think by focusing on this very big issue, holding college to account, making sure that they come true on their promises, I think that is something that we can be absolutely sure can change and deliver long-term change. But by focusing on many smaller issues, that may not be possible.
Okay, and so I'm going to come back to you again so you can answer this question first. How do you view the President's role in managing discipline in the union? Is it important or necessary to discipline clubs who do wrong, for instance? Can you answer that in 30 seconds as well, please?
Yeah, so I think it's very difficult. It's a difficult issue. In line with what I've just previously said, it's very important that the union is considered to be taking the responsibility of college seriously, and the reputation of college seriously, and the reputation of the union to enable us to achieve anything of great worth. So I think it is very important when dealing with clubs and societies that they are treated fairly, but there are going to be some situations when discipline is important.
Okay,
as well.
Thank you very much. And Nas, as well, to you the same question. What do you think about discipline in the role?
Well, it's a similar sort of thing. So the union has a responsibility to stand up for its students. So the biggest example of this was with the rugby club last year. And what the union did, which was bang on, was that they represented the rugby players to the police and made sure that they weren't just hung out to dry. So in this situation, we internalised the problem and were able to deal with it, and I think that's exactly the right call, and it was the right thing to do to keep the reputation of the college.
Okay, and to Kat, the same question, how do you view discipline in the role?
Yeah, I mean, we have the responsibility to uphold a reputation of Imperial. If people are sort of, behaviour is out of line, it should be called up upon. There should be a disciplinary meeting. However, there have been cases that I've heard of where sort of disciplinary matters have been swept under the rug a little bit to uphold, to kind of make our reputation look a little bit better. I don't think that's right, actually. I think if there is a disciplinary issue, it should be dealt with. It shouldn't just be swept under the rug. It may be taken higher in the college rather than just at departmental measures. From what I've heard about, I don't want to go into specifics, but
okay. So different question to Levi. What are your thoughts on the government's HE paper and how that would affect students? Do you know anything about? So the proposal is to change how much students are charged. So home students are charged. How much do you know about that? What's your thoughts?
About charging students for, paying for fees here in the UK. I think it's really important to emphasize that if we are quitting from the EU, then all the Europeans will be lost from Imperial College, which is an extreme diversity loss. If this happens, then Imperial will lose such a lot from its research, because research is based on the people, the different people from different backgrounds coming together and making contribution to the bigger wealth. And this is what the European Union is standing for.
Okay, thank you. And Eddy, the same question?
Yes, so I haven't read the paper, but I've heard some stories about it, and I've heard the main points, and I agree with what Levi said. So basically, if EU students, are charged more, we would have an outsourcing of these people, and that would really affect Imperial. This is why also President Alice Gast is pushing, signed the paper for the UK to stay into Europe. So I believe that we should keep the tuition fee the same or even lower them, but that's another issue. But we shouldn't hide them because people wouldn't be able to come. And I know people who are even struggling to pay the £9,000 fees.
Okay, thank you. Right, so last question. Can you please sum up your campaign in 3 words? So I'm going to start with Nas.
Experience to deliver.
Thank you. John?
Long-term change.
Thank you. Kat?
Passion drives change.
Levi?
Honesty, competency, liability.
Eddy?
And for me, experience, innovation, ambition.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to the panel and then we'll be back with more presidential candidates.
Can you hear us now? Okay, perfect. And we're back on. So
This isn't our day job.
interesting discussion about president candidates. Some good quality out there. So we heard a lot about mental health and welfare, and we heard a lot about that earlier with the deputy president welfare candidates. So this is actually one of the kind of like problems as a president is how does a president differentiate from the other sabbaticals, and what is your guys' take on that?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Obviously, mental health is very strong in the DPW remit, but we just asked the DPE candidates the same question about how they can prioritise mental health. And I think having a joined-up approach to tackling it as a sort of entire issue that affects everyone, then you should be having a president that is, sees it as a priority as well as having to push it at like these meetings that the DPE and DPW don't attend. So I think it is a fair comment, but as you said yourself, like working as a team is so important as a SPASC officer. It can be difficult to like demarcate what's your responsibility versus someone else's. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think building on Lissa's point, President sits on College Council, which is there to define college policies and discuss college matters. The President also has meetings with the Rector, Asgas. I'm sure many other people who are... President Asgas, and probably many other people in college who can actually make change happen. So I think it's important that the union has a strong president. It shows that the union has a strong representation for its students to college, and could actually, if we have a strong president, we can actually see change happening.
Yeah, I would agree on that. I can just comment on that. The sabbaticals are only as effective they are in terms of working as a team. So if they don't have someone who can manage the SABs in a group, then a lot of potential is lost there. Something else that stood out was startup culture. Do you guys have any gut reactions to that? Is there something that we should focus on as a university, as a union? Especially considering what else is out there already. So like there are the college is already working on the startup culture, there are some events. So should we...
I think it's a really good idea. I think in general the government seems to be supporting small medium enterprise. So if college could also provide some breakout spaces for groups of people to meet to test ideas out. As a postdoc student, there's already groups in college which try to take your research and see if it can be commercialised. So building on that towards the undergraduate. And don't forget, we also have some student societies like Equinox who have taken an idea, they've managed to develop it in college and going out to Africa to build on their product. So it has happened. And
yeah, so once again, it's a bit like this could be also a DPCS responsibility, as in...
Or DPE.
Or DPE in that case, yeah. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, no, I don't really have it. It's not really my area, but there has been a definite move in college to support such culture in recent years, and it does seem like an overarching thing that is suitable for a presidential manifesto. So, yeah.
Another thing that was mentioned a lot was rents and the issues that we face with rent and whether or not students are supported. And you seem keen to comment on that.
I think it's a very difficult subject.
Yeah.
I agree, rents are high and it's difficult to understand why such a small space in London costs so much. But I think it's much more than just Imperial's problem. I think it's a London-wide problem.
Yeah.
I don't know really what Imperial could do to support students. whether Imperial has enough resources to be able to support students. So I think there's some huge questions around this that really need to be answered first.
Yeah. Okay, we need to wrap up. So, on to the second batch of presidential candidates.
So that's why.
Is it doing anything?
Okay, we're back with the second set of presidential candidates. So this time we have Yulia, Ivan, Melody and Patryk. So if you'd like to please introduce yourselves, starting with Yulia.
Okay. Hi, my name is Yulia. I want to be the next union president. I believe that our union should become a lot more efficient. It's unacceptable for our volunteers to be spending so much time dealing with e-activities and waiting so much time for responses from the union. The mental health situation at our university is appalling. I will provide you with more welfare events and awareness, such as stress management workshops aimed at your department. I believe you should get the right support tailored at you when you need it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ivan?
Are you tired of presidents just working for their CVs? Are you tired of the petty politics of the bike quad cartel? Do you want to make Imperial great again? Only Ivan Brown can make these changes. I know what the students want. I can deliver what they need. I will make small policy changes that will make differences to all the students.
Melody, and I want you to vote for me as your union president because I want to make sure your union college works for you. I want to make your time at Imperial College to be as valuable as possible, and I believe click on www.vomedi.org and stay in tune with Melody.
Thank you.
Common property of the students, and instead of property of CV padding careerists who weigh £7 million a year. Finally relevant to the lives of Imperial students, and this will be achieved through a privatization that will put each student will receive a share in the union for the duration of the studies, and each student will receive at the end of each year dividends. We should be in the business of making real, accountable financial value for the students. I view it as a simple choice. Make your vote work for you, not for someone else's CV. Vote for a union that, rather than losing money, makes money for you. If you can read the full manifesto on the Facebook page, Privatised Union, that'd be fantastic.
Okay, right, so I'm going to move to some questions. So, based on your introductory comments, I'm going to ask the first question to Ivan and Patryk. So you refer to the sabbatical officers as CV padders. Does that include me?
Well, as far as I can tell, most people go into the union with good intentions. However, most people also go into the union with a lot of experience of trying to get good things on their CV. It can be difficult when you're trying to impress people who have a lot of power to actually fully oppose very, very difficult and very, very hard proposals. What someone who has slightly less regard for authority can do is they can say no to these big, big decisions that will affect students' lives. I do not doubt that they mean well, but I do think that sometimes this plays a detrimental role to big, big decisions.
So what role do you think the union president has? If the union president was to say no to a big decision that college made, what do you think college would turn around and do?
I think, depending on how he went about it, they would either laugh at him or her if it was done poorly, or if a series of student strikes, like have gone on in UCL recently, take place, which have been very effective, they would have to listen and they would have to negotiate reasonable terms. Of course, the president would not be unreasonable. He would understand the position of the university, but he would be able to negotiate reasonable terms with the powers that be at Imperial.
Okay, and Patryk, similar kind of line of questioning. Why do you say what you say about the current sabbatical officers?
Well, I think, you mentioned yourself, I consider you a CV padder, so to say. Well, I think it's a question you can only answer with your own conscience. But the problem here is the structure of the governance, because right now there is no incentive systems for the sabbatical officers to perform based on the results they deliver. They simply engage in whatever behaviour or whatever actions they undertake and still make nearly £30,000 a year.
So would you say that, if I was to pull some statistics out about the union for you, so 95% of undergrads interact with the union in a non-commercial way every year. We abide quite a few metrics, one of the most successful unions in the country when it comes to society memberships, the Student Academic Choice Awards, the volunteering. So this all excludes pints, stationery and anything that puts money into SAB's pockets.
Well, for starters, I think it's hardly difficult to be successful in comparison to the other unions that run very similar structure. You mentioned that 95% non-commercial. Well, I think that's grave injustice because students still spend money at the union, but they do not have the opportunity to relish what's called a consumer surplus. The idea that if the prices are set efficiently, you only engage in buying something based whether it provides more value for you than you would expect based on the price.
Okay. So, Yulia, lots of people have very similar manifesto ideas. What sets you apart from everyone else?
Well, I think I have what it takes to improve on e-activities, given my technology background. I don't think anyone has written that we should attract more students with software engineering skills to improve e-activities. So I think that's what sets me apart. I think that, unfortunately, e-activities are not at the standard of the modern technology, and it should be improved, because the amount of time our students spending using it and dealing with these problems could be spent organizing the welfare events, could be spent on raising more sponsorship money, and so on. So yeah, okay. I think that's one.
So, so Melody, the same question. What sets you apart from everyone else?
So basically, I really want to focus, like I mentioned in my manifesto, your student satisfaction, your support, and the community and space given, provided. And it has been mentioned to me a few times through feedback from talking to you guys that accommodation is a huge part of being a student at Imperial College London. And I feel that as a result, like including your accommodation involves the spaces in Imperial College, it could be bettered by, you know, your feedback yourselves through me or through your representatives. And I think that more dealings with the accommodation and finance people can be communicated. I think regarding with the whole situation last year, there was a real lack of transparency, and as a president, I feel like I could be able to ensure that there is a better transparency within the union body and the student body. Thank you.
Okay. So back to Ivan. What issues do you think are important to international students, and how do you represent them?
Well, I can say that being an international student is not always easy. I went over to France last year. I had a considerable amount of problems as well as a considerable amount of joy. I do think that you are thrown into deep water as an international student, and there are many ways to make this better. In my manifesto, I bring up points that other people have not brought up about very simple things in student life, about the enjoyment, about the nights at Metric, about the food, about being brought into the community. Being an international student, the hardest thing is being brought into the community. Even changing the amount of toppings on jacket potatoes, for example, bring in more diverse foods, could really integrate people into the community. I think that we need to concentrate on how the international students feel, make them feel part of this British university, and make them feel as if they contribute their own culture to this university.
Okay, thank you. And then I've just been told that we had some sound issues with Melody and Ivan's initial introductions. So I've been asked to, if you can do your introduction speeches again. Sorry. So if Ivan, you want to go first?
That is no problem. Okay. Are you tired of officials and presidents who are just working for their own CVs? Are you tired of? Are you tired of? Do you want to make Imperial great again? Well, if you do, please vote for Ivan Brown. I am the only candidate who can make change here.
Okay, thank you. And Melody?
Hi, my name is Melody Ball, and I want you to vote for me as your union president because I want to make sure your union college gives you the support that you need and that you feel fully represented. I want to ensure that your time at your university is made as valuable as possible. And to ensure this, I want to focus on 3 main areas: your community and the space in which you live in, your individual satisfaction, and the full your support and fully representation from the union and transparency between the different faculties and buildings. Thank you for listening and stay in tune with Melody.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to ask you the final question, and that is to sum up your campaign in 3 words. So I'll start with Patryk.
Well, it's simple. Prioritise the union.
Okay, thank you. Melody?
Student, support, community.
Thank you. Ivan?
Make Imperial great.
Yulia?
Welfare, efficiency, students.
Thank you very much. So we're going back over to the Pundit panel.
Oh, no. Hello! We're back again. I've taken over as president. Not president. As chair, because we're just rotating now. That's something that we're doing.
Are you going to make this Pundit panel great again?
Yes, and let's talk about that. So another, strong crop of candidates. Always nice to see that everyone takes it seriously. What did you guys think of our second panel?
There's definitely a need to make Imperial great again because it used to be great, but it's not anymore. So
I like the way the rail networks run. I think privatised trains have really added a lot of efficiency, so I think privatising union could also bring some of these benefits we see on the rail networks.
Yeah, excellent. So also lots of comments about sabbaticals, why they run for their positions, whether that affects their performance in the role.
Well,
Pascal, how are you faring after your sabbatical year?
So being a sat was fun, and I did put it down my CV. However, I am still applying for jobs now, so I can't really say that being a sabbatical was just a springboard to a job. So it isn't really true.
CV padding doesn't work for everyone.
I think you learn a lot of skills when you're a SAB.
Yeah.
And if you're of that personality where you can make the most of that, then that's certainly going to help. But I don't. All of my friends who were SABs, I don't think being a SAB was their defining year that have got them where they are now.
Yeah, and I think the whole thing is that the skills that you get through holding a position in the union, you manage a lot of volunteers. There's a lot of skills that you get that you don't have otherwise, and that is good for your CV. But that's just part of it.
Don't get me wrong. Like the experience that you get as a SAB is incredibly unique because at such a young age, early 20s, you get thrown in such a leadership positions where you're being held accounted by the senior boards of the college. So it is.
And also students.
Yeah, and
student
students.
Council.
Well, I'm just supposed to be DP experience. But yeah, mainly students. But it is such a unique experience. But it's not for CV padding only, really.
Okay. And so one of the issues that was brought up was e-activities and how we can optimise that and maybe getting students involved in the development of e-activities. Thoughts? Opinions?
I think, well, when activities was being designed, lots of the clubs were consulted on what they wanted, and there was definitely a big to-do list. I think it's very difficult for any large IT infrastructure project. So, and especially from a role of the president isn't themselves going to be rewriting e-activities. They would need to oversee it. They would need to find students. But although I'm definitely encouraged further development of technology within the union, I think that's only a good thing.
Okay, so really interesting evening. I think we'll all agree.
Fun.
Lots of really strong themes and priorities coming out in our candidates. A lot of talk about mental health, mental well-being, and postgraduate involvement in the union as well as clubs and societies. I think that's all for us, and we can hand back to the studio now. Thanks for.
Bye everyone.
Tonight, you've heard from students campaigning to be elected leaders of the Imperial student community. The council chair, the Felix editor, deputy presidents, and finally, of course, the union president themselves. Campaigning is already happening all over campus, and voting opens on Friday the 4th of March at noon. You can cast your vote at imperialcollegeunion.org/vote. Voting then closes at noon on Friday the 11th of March, and all the results will be revealed live that evening at the Leadership Election Results Party held in Patryk. Many thanks go to the incredible ICTV and IC Radio volunteers, particularly Luke, Jem, Sergio, Sam and Kieran. You can follow the leadership elections throughout the next week and online using the Vote ICU hashtag, and read the candidate manifestos also online at imperialcollegeunion.org/manifestos. Thank you and good night.